What's going on, everybody? Hey, so we're having a bit of some technical difficulties and waiting. What's going on, everybody? Okay, hold on. Hey, perfect. So Mitch has come on here. He's in Thailand, so his feed is a little bit off. It sounds like I'm not real sure what's going on right there, but as soon as he comes on, we'll get him on here. So really looking forward to this episode, and I'm like incredibly excited actually. The more that I did research on Mitch and talked with some guys that know him really well and all that, I mean, this guy is literally one of the foremost authorities in the world on influence and copywriting and a lot of cool stuff. So I have no doubt that this episode of the show is going to be a blessing to y'all. It's going to help us kind of dive deep into this whole concept of creating realities, right? Because right now we're in this kind of phase in history where narratives are being thrown here, everywhere, and it's kind of hard to know what's going on. And something that changed for me, it changed my perspective of the world when I finally started to get this, was that the realities, the narratives that we kind of exist in a lot of times are created by anybody. And, you know, I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, and I was just kind of letting him know that, or we were kind of talking through this whole thing, but I was like, you know, all throughout history, all throughout all of societies, narratives are literally becoming the lines in which everybody else plays. And I was kind of thinking about like Hitler or any of these guys. If you think of it in terms of like a coloring book, the line that creates the image is what he created. Doesn't mean it's the right image or whatever else, but it was the image. He created the narrative in which people believed and saw the truth, and then they had to exist within that. Looks like Mitch might be coming on here in a second, but they had to exist within that because uh, they didn't really kind of go against the fray or that thinking. What's up, Matthew? How are you, bro? For some reason, I don't get like whose names are coming up on my platform here, so I have to look down at my phone every once in a while. So when I look to the side, that's what it is. So I apologize, guys, but I want to be active and engaged with y'all. And just to kind of kick off tonight, I'm going to be drinking a little whiskey and kind of enjoying and just going deep with Mitch. Mitch, can you hear me, buddy? Let me see if I can pull you in real quick.
Okay.
There we go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, bro, but can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Am I clear? Is
Yep.
it my computer or this thing? Okay, cool.
No, you look great.
Damn.
Or you sound great, man. So appreciate you pushing through that. I know that was probably you came on with your phone at first. So
Yeah.
awesome, man. Well, I'll do it.
Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a quick intro for you real quick.
It's morning for me, so I'm gonna hold off on the whiskey.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, if you were here, we'd be doing it together, I'm sure. So, all right, guys, I'm going to start out real quick. So, as you guys know, first of all, welcome to the show, Wisdom and Grit. As you know, the goal of this show is to introduce you to the men who build the world and create lives of impact so that we can celebrate them and work together to fulfill the call of masculinity in our homes, our communities, and the world. Today's guest is one of the top copywriters in the world. The raw, edgy approach to business that he's actually known for didn't come easy. From a former rock star who battled drug addiction, homelessness, and a heart attack at the age of 21 years old, to the co-founder of the influential Opposed Media, where he's written 5 books, spoken in universities all over the world, and been featured in publications and podcasts like Entrepreneur on Fire. He's repeatedly built advertising campaigns that have done millions in sales and currently holds trainings all over the world to teach others to do the same. Please welcome our guest, Mitch Miller, a.k.a. Father Freedom. What's up, buddy?
I hear all the claps in the background.
Yeah, I need a sound machine or something, man. So, dude, first of all, I'm honored to have you on. I've heard a lot about you. Mike Young, he's a buddy of mine, and he's talked really high of you. And I'm sure he hadn't even done it justice. So I'm excited to kind of dive in and learn more about you and learn about the world and the art form of influencing people through copy and some of the other stuff that you're involved in. So why don't you kind of start out with your story, because I understand, like, how did all this get started, like, in the first place? Because I know you have a pretty interesting kind of path.
Yeah, like, man, when I was a kid, I was all about WWF, WWE, right? I wanted to be a wrestler. That was my dream. And I
Right.
also wanted to be a fucking rock star too, because my favorite bands were Guns N' Roses and things like this, and they're just super badass. And so I picked up the guitar, started learning songs and stuff like that, and then
That's
managed to
cool.
stick to it daily, which is the key to anything really. You stick to it daily, even though you suck for the first while, and then I got good at guitar, and then I got good at the wrestling thing, but I was like 120 pounds, and like, I mean, a wrestler, like, come on, like, it's such a ridiculous thing, and I was doing it with my friends for real. Like, we had fake blood and chairs, and we'd jump off like the fucking house and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
you
then
were
I was
that guy.
obsessed. I was so obsessed that, and then I
That's
realized that
funny.
if you want to get laid, you kind of don't gotta wrestle with other men. Right? So I was like, maybe this isn't the coolest thing in the world to be doing. Grown men fucking
That's funny.
pretending to fight with each other, and wearing fucking tights and shit.
That's funny.
So yeah, like, so I got into the band thing, and because of that, I got obsessed with it again. I get fucking obsessed with things, I think. So I got obsessed with the band thing. Didn't go to school, didn't even bother finishing high school. We would just play shows all around and invite to school and things like that. And so it was, I think, we did that for a period of years until around age 21, where I had the heart attack, and it was mostly because, like, the band was kind of falling apart. And at that point, we'd been on the radio, we were touring, we were seeing some success. We put out like a legitimate album, and then the band just kind of fell apart. So because it fell apart, I was like depressed and pissed off. So I did even more partying, I'm like, let's just combine all the drugs together at one time and do a fucking threesome too. And then that basically did it, because I didn't drink
Dang,
water.
man.
There's just, it was a shit show, and for whatever reason, people do that shit all the time. For whatever reason, I got a goddamn heart attack, and it wasn't that extreme. Like, it was like the doctor said I'm lucky to be alive, all this type of stuff. They actually said, find out who his parents are, because they're not going to make it. But what I'm trying to say is, when it was finished, like, when whatever they did, when I was in the hospital after, it was like I got released 3 days later, and then when I did the follow-ups,
Wow.
there was no permanent damage. It was like it never happened. So that
That's
was
amazing,
crazy.
man.
Yeah, it was so weird. And then, so anyways, that woke me up. That was like the moment I was like, I need to do something. I need to be somebody more. But I didn't word that to myself, because I was like, I wanted to get rich. I just wanted to be like rich. I just wanted to be like some rich rapper or something, or rock star or something. But I didn't want to do the band thing, because I'm like, shit, you got to rely on five. It's a music business, and you got to rely on 5 people in your band who are not business people, because artists are not business minded. So,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be business minded, but I didn't know how. So I came across Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. Was the first book I ever came across.
Yeah,
This
bro.
shit. And
It's me
Think
too,
and Grow
man.
Rich. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool. Like, he did a lot to, like, break people into this kind of world or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Well, help
there's
them believe in themselves, I think.
Yeah, and then, like, because it's like, you got to know that there's a possibility for some shit that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta even have that vision. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't see it and people don't feed that to you, then of course you're not even going to believe it's possible. Even if you have self confidence, if nobody gives you some sort of, if you don't know a vision of what's possible, then the confidence doesn't matter almost.
Yeah. Well, you don't know what you don't know, man. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the.
But in this day and age, like, everyone knows everything, so there's no excuse for not knowing. You can't plead ignorance in this fucking day and age.
That's true, man. Yeah, we're exposed to a lot, so that's cool.
And
So
then,
what? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah. So it was Tony Robbins that turned me on to Jay Abraham and Dan Kennedy and all these guys, and I got obsessed with marketing back in like 2004. And getting obsessed with marketing meant I had to get obsessed with human behavior and human psychology, because that's really what it is. And the more I really got down to, I got obsessed with all these things trying to understand marketing. And it was just, it's a never-ending rabbit hole that to this day still plagues haunts my dreams. I'll literally go to sleep with like an issue I'm working out with, like understanding a piece of psychology or something, and I'll fucking wake up with the
Interesting.
answer. It's crazy.
That's
So I'm
cool, man.
always formulating stuff. So that's basically it. Like all the shit I've done, whatever I'm doing, all it really is just a manifestation of my obsession of just trying to understand and master the idea of marketing.
So would you say then, like kind of diving into that, that psychology and understanding human behavior and all that stuff has kind of been the catalyst? Or, I mean, obviously having a desire to step out and do something that gets you where you want to go because you wanted wealth, you wanted all those things, but to get you there, you have to still acquire the skill sets. Is that kind of the big secret in your mind?
Yeah, it actually is, because you can learn the right things, but if you're not that you don't think you're that fucking person, you ain't gonna take the act. You're just not gonna do it. And
Yeah.
and so the more I learned about human psychology, the more I learned about myself. So that's the cool thing about this stuff. You learn human psychology and
Hmm.
marketing to understand yourself and other people at the same time. If you don't, the people, you can't get that good at marketing if you don't know yourself that well, because you're
Yeah,
just a
I
mirror
agree
of
with
everyone
you.
else. So if there's pieces of yourself that you're avoiding looking at, odds are you're avoiding looking at that in the world, and so your marketing will always be biased or half-assed or like not 100%, because you're blocking your own, you're creating your own blind spots for your own self-protection, and then
Yeah.
so you don't see them in the world. So then you're marketing to people with your own blind spots. It's crazy.
Man, I totally resonate with that because I've had a marketing agency for the last 6 years, and then I've always done it for other people. But you get in kind of these like weird like uh, cults. I don't even know how else to say it other than that, but like click funnels and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like that next new thing, right? And it's like you go ride that, and the influencers are rising inside of that, and then you're kind of like watching them, and you start kind of you're frustrated because you're
Yeah, yeah,
seeing
yeah.
them rise, and it's like I had to when I started Wisdom and Grit, and I was like, you know what, I'm going all in with this, and I love what I'm doing with it, and it was kind of like I had to just take a step back from all of that and realize that everything I already needed was inside of me. It was just
Mm.
like all the creativity and being able to think uniquely. And if I kept hanging on their coattails, I was only going to produce stuff that they would create. And I would never be able to invent a new concept or be able to even look at it from a different perspective because I was just
Mm.
funnel hacking or doing whatever, So it's kind of
Funnel
that
reacting.
whole,
You call
yeah,
it funnel
exactly.
reacting.
And that's
Like
all over the place, bro. I mean, it's bad.
all
Uh,
this
that's cool.
reacting around is people are crazy. It's like I had to do that post the other day. It was like if nobody takes time to have silence and be alone and fucking think about things for a second without social media or whatever. It's like if you can do that, then like you said, coming up with new concepts and really be getting that wisdom, so to speak. You
Yeah.
can't get the wisdom by skating around the surface. You're always plugged in. You got to fucking sit and go deep, go within for a while.
Yeah, and I think you got to expose yourself to new situations too that are kind of contrary to your own self, like things that challenge you and give you something to draw from. Like, I know that's the way that it is for me. I'm highly reactionary to my environment a lot of times. And so whenever I get in places that are kind of different, it really inspires me and helps me pull up things that I mean, I probably wouldn't have thought of otherwise. So that's good
Mm.
stuff, man. I'm sure you're dealing with a lot of that. I heard you got food poisoning last night, man.
Yeah, I'm still recovering. I feel frail. Yeah, and it wasn't even a savage
Man.
food poisoning. Like I've had one where like I was getting on a flight to Vancouver from Bangkok, and it just started to set in. Like I got that serious belly, and I was like, oh no, this is gonna be so bad. And then trying to check into the flight, and then having to re go through immigration 3 times because I kept throwing up and not making it to the front of the line, and then trying to
Oh
hide
my
that because I
gosh.
don't want to waste the flight. Got to get home, and then you get to Hong Kong,
Yeah.
and it's like they do the quarantine shit. If you ever been through China, they do these
I haven't.
quarantine areas, and everybody goes through, and they have these heat sensors, and they make it like if you're sick, you must report to this room. And I'm just like walking through. I'm like,
Oh
I'm
my
good, I'm good, I'm
gosh.
good. But that was, and having full blown food poisoning on a plane is like fucking brutal. But this wasn't that bad. I was just, yeah, it wasn't that bad. I'm all right.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you made it, man. I was little when I heard that. I was like, man, I hope he pushes through and kind of shows up, but so I want to really dive deep. Well, first of all, why are you in Thailand? Like, what kind of drove you to that whole experience and all that? And then we'll kind of get into all the how to
Right.
influence.
So Thailand, it was very simple. The first time I came here 4 years ago, it was just for a vacation, and it was winter in Canada. I was like, fuck the snow. I would go somewhere else, and I just randomly picked Bangkok. And as soon as I arrived, I was like, wow, this is like Cirque du Soleil version of New York City. This is incredible. And then I fell in love with Thailand. I fell in love with the Thai people. They're super friendly. We don't know in the West what friendly is like until we've been to some of these countries over here. And the weather is obviously always hot. The women are always hot. The cool thing about this is, like, when you have a location independent business and you don't have to be in one place to make money, your environment matters, obviously. And so the environment of being out here really helps. It's not like a hustle environment. It's definitely not that. So, if that's what somebody's looking for, it's probably not the best. But what it does also do is it allows you to live either the same lifestyle that you were living back in the West, so to speak, for 1/6 of the cost. Or my favorite thing is,
Wow.
you just keep upping your lifestyle. So right now we get to live like fucking kings, and it's really like, I have friends who live in LA and they're like, fuck you, dude. They're like, what the hell, man? They're like, you're living literally like a king and you're spending less than me a month. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I could get 2 of these mansions for the same price as your shitty little condo in LA. And so
Yeah, that's crazy. I've seen pictures of your place. It's cool, man.
yeah, dude, and it's only $2,500 a month.
That's amazing, man.
It's not bad, man.
Yeah.
And so and also, like, we the thing about it too is we're Canadians. So as a Canadian, you don't have to pay income tax on revenue earned outside of Canada, as long as you're not a living resident of Canada. You're still a citizen. So what I'm saying is that we don't have to pay business taxes now that we're out here. We don't have to pay Thailand taxes because we're not doing business. We're not selling things to Thai people. And so that's another benefit, is you get to quadruple or quintuple your lifestyle on the same amount of money, and you get to pay no taxes. So you save all that there. So what that does, that allows you to take all that extra money that you have, that you're making from your business, and it allows you to put it right back in and just speed that momentum up, and you speed up the progress of your business.
That's amazing, dude. So I know you guys, like, so you mentioned being from Canada, and I know you've been talking about going to North Korea. You've been there, right, before?
Yeah, I've been there one time already for 2 days.
Okay, I want to hear about this because this is super interesting to me. I wish I could join you guys because that seems like the most rad trip ever, but I know Americans apparently aren't safe or whatever it is at this point, or are they just not straight up allowed?
Well, I think they're might be technically allowed, but the tour companies we work with and I've seen, they're just like, we're not taking that fucking risk, because even if they let them in, it's like, it's musical chairs. Like, what if they choose our guy to keep? And so, but they did say that, like, they're very adamant. They're like, they never said Americans can't come in. They said Americans can't come in on a U.S. passport. So if you got another passport from family or something, then that's the trick. You come in on that other one.
Okay, you're a little bit out of picture, just because. So don't mean to interrupt your comfort there. I know you just woke up, man, but
just fall back to sleep.
Hey, everybody's singing a song. There we go. No, so what are y'all going there for? Is it just like, because I mean, when I think of it, I'm like, man, that's got to be like a psychology haven, because you're getting there and you're getting to experience all of these, like the propaganda, and I've heard things about them playing music over cities and all this. I mean, it's a big mystery to somebody like me. Since you've been there, why don't you kind of explain what you've seen, you know?
Right. Yeah, it is all those things. And that's what's incredible. It's a psychology haven, but you don't know why, because it's so alien and foreign that you almost can't process it. You can't just be like, oh, this. It's like, maybe it would have been better if I came with some of my friends who thought like this, but I just went on a tour. So I was with like these people, and they were just people. They didn't give a shit to even analyze this stuff. They're just like,
Wow.
North Korea, let's drink beer in North Korea, man. And it's like, all right, but like, yeah.
Yeah, do you
So I didn't,
recognize the gold?
yeah. So I didn't get to analyze it with anyone until after the fact. I'm trying to analyze it to myself, trying to write my thoughts down, but it's just so ridiculous. Like, yeah, they had communist, like shitty communist music blasting over shitty speakers all over the city in the subway. Now we went on the subway, and it's like they're celebrating the grand opening of their new subway, and it was like supposed to be this grand thing. And the subway car pulls up, and it's Germany had donated their old graffiti-ridden, scratched up post-Berlin Wall subway cars to North Korea to use for their system. So and it was super cool because they tried to wash it all off, but you can still see it. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, this is incredible. But it was super weird because it's North Korea, like the whole time it felt like it felt like you went to like the poorest person in your family's house for Christmas. Like everyone went there for Christmas, and that person is desperately trying to not put on a good performance so you don't think they're super poor. Like they got the canned peas, but they don't want you to see the can. It's like they're doing their best to like make the house look nice, but you know it's just a piece of crap. So it's like it's kind of like that. That's how it felt. But the biggest piece of insight that I got was simply another reinforcement that we're all the same. That North Korea is not the fucking enemy. The goddamn government is. The people are us.
And were they like massively brainwashed, or do you think they kind of had an inkling of reality and they were just doing what they had to do to survive?
Yeah, so like because it's so poor there, because there's all the sanctions and they don't accept outside help. There's, communism only fucking works when you have a thriving capitalist system to be able to provide all this wealth for the communists to fucking divide around. It's like when there's no wealth to divide around, there's nothing. So you can't even build machines. So basically everything is like done by hand. They have oxes and shit. Like all the farming is done by hand. There's not one single machine that I saw there the entire time in all of those farmlands. And so
it's crazy, bro.
It's like they know there's a huge underground, like underbelly black market of people who know, like they know what's going on. Like there's people who have, like there was in the news the other day, there was a group of North Korean hackers stole a shitload of Bitcoin, like $1 billion worth or something. I was like, North Korean hackers? How the fuck did they get the internet? And how did they figure out how to be hackers?
Well, they're being trained, I'm sure, they have alliances, I'm sure, right, with some of these more sophisticated countries. That's a good
point. But yeah, the people know stuff, but they can't leave, and there's things set up. Like people try to escape all the time, but if you escape, your family pays for your escape. So if you get out, your fucking family's going to a concentration camp. So the only other option is to either stay or try to take everyone out at the same time, and then it's so risky to all leave at the same time that nobody does. And they also have this weekly tattletale session or whatever you want to call it. They call it something like whatever, but it's a tattletale session where basically you report any kind of gossip about anyone talking about leaving or anyone saying shit. So everyone is so scared of each other that everyone keeps each other in line. It's just super fucked up.
That's crazy, man. So, going there as an outsider, I'm sure there were huge posters and statues of Kim Jong-un all over the place and all the predecessors, or were there any predecessors?
Yeah, there's two predecessors.
Propaganda pieces.
Yeah, man. Like the propaganda there wasn't much propaganda. There was just like, because we went to a couple stores, they had postcards with like the bombing, like propaganda, and so it's almost like they created those just for people, like it wasn't for themselves. And so it was just nonstop, like 100%, like everyday brainwashing on their ideology. And they're weird. It's like there's nowhere in the city where you can't see statues of the leaders, like that. They literally created the fucking city and the elevations and everything so that there is at no point in which you don't see the big statues there. And so it's just like crazy. It's what it's like. It's like some fucking crazy like version of Christianity, like where they're just so obsessed with it and stuck in it. Yet it's not Jesus or God. It's the fucking leaders.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's
It's the
worship.
cult.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is. Uh, dude. Okay. So kind of bringing that back around, like, I want to get into kind of the whole idea, like what got you started, and like, I mean, we kind of went through that story, but like, how did you get to the point where you're at now? Because you've been able to go out and help people make millions of dollars through different campaigns. You've, kind of positioned yourself as this rebel in the space, and I know you do that on purpose to some degree. A lot of that is just who you are, but also you're like, man, I'm just going to put it out there,
Yeah.
and all of these things that are going on, and it's worked for you. Do you think that can work for everybody else, I guess? And then kind of, but what got you to that point? Because it takes some nuts to get out there and just kind of do that online. And then after a while, I know you get used to it, but after a while, whatever. So am I
Yeah.
on point there? I don't know.
Yeah. You're a point.
Okay.
I don't think everybody can do like, because I don't even know what it is like that I'm doing. Like the whole idea is like there's different words for like there's thought leader, there's influencer, there's guru, there's all these fucking words for the same
Yeah.
thing, which is in my mind like I see myself as a teacher. That's how I look at myself. But like
Yeah.
people they can feel free to look at me however they want. But
Sure.
I mean logic just tells me not everyone can, because not everyone, if everyone was a fucking like guru, for example, there would doesn't make sense. There'd be no one, there'd be no followers.
Yeah.
But so it's like no, not everyone can be thought leaders, and but you can be. I think everyone can be a thought leader to a specific group of people. Like there's
Sure.
layers to it, but I don't think a lot of shit that makes this stuff is natural and goes a long time. Like I said, the WWF and the fucking music stuff. If you look at
Yeah.
what those two things have in common, they're both performances in front of groups of a large audience of people.
It's a good way to put
Right.
it.
And I was up into the UFC as well and the fighting, and so there's always like, and that's what I'm doing now is I'm doing performances for audiences, whether they're online or in events. So a lot of what we become is linked to our childhood. We don't even realize it. So
So are
that's
you
what,
saying when you go home, you put on like a nice suit and like a smoking jacket, and you go sip a scotch in front of a fireplace while you smoke your pipe and that kind of thing?
no,
Like that's who
that's
you are outside of the camera life, or what is
no, that's
it?
what. Thank God that like I'm actually such a ridiculous character that I don't have to do much to stretch it. Like
Yeah.
I don't have to like. And when you get in front of crowds, you naturally hype yourself up and exaggerate. It's
Yeah,
like
totally.
there's
Yeah.
an interview with Bill Burr that I listened to. It's on YouTube. It's called How to Write Comedy or How to Do Comedy, and it was just a little
Interesting.
interview. And someone asked them, they're like, "So are you like how do you do this? Are you like this all the time? Like you're crazy?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "You think I'm a fucking ranting crazy son of a bitch 24/7?" He's like, "No." He's like, "That's a piece of my personality, and it's an exaggerated one, and it's almost like cathartic." But he's like, "I get it out." And I fucking rant it out. He's like, and then I go to a dive bar after my show, and I sit in the corner and I shut the fuck up and I'm quiet and I listen to other people talk.
Hmm. That's cool. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a big a point there because, I think when you put yourself out there and like, inside of Wisdom and Grit, I'm always trying to let these guys know like to rise. Like I really try to call men up and then like
Mm.
equip them and then set them out. Because and that takes putting yourself in situations where you've got to actually become someone that you might not have ever been before, and it feels completely awkward as all get out, and you're trying to really step out and actually do things that you may have never done before. But at the end of the day, if you do them enough times, they're actually going to become. It's just going to become the way that it is, and then people respond to that. So I mean, like it's kind of odd, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you have no choice. It's like chicken and the egg, right? Like it's going to be
Right.
fucking awkward. It's going to be weird to step into something that you know you are, but you haven't practiced it, and so you're going to
Yeah.
feel like a fucking fraud when you're doing it.
Yeah.
You have no choice, but you have to just keep doing it. Like I fucking when I tried to break out into this industry or scene or whatever the hell you want to call this weird thing in 2008, and I looked
Okay.
stupid, and I tried. It was about for a year and a half, 2 years, and I just couldn't do it. No one cared what I had to say. I wasn't grounded in myself. I knew a lot of stuff, like I knew a lot, but like I just the self is always coming through. You can't hide who you are, and so
Right.
I just kind of gave up, and I just continued working on myself in behind the scenes, and I started a landscaping company, and I worked at a strip club, and I just did a lot of soul searching and hole searching, and like it, and then eventually in 2014 I was like, okay, I'm ready to actually do this because it comes from the right place now. Like it wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna. It's not like I need to step up because I really got to do this, and I need people to take me seriously. You know, fuck, I got to do this, guys. Okay, we'll do it. And it's that fucking needy bullshit, like desperation. It was like when I decided to start this business in 2014, and I was like, it's fucking time. This industry has no goddamn clue what's about to fucking hit them. Let's go. And it's
Yeah.
like that grounded new. It's not coming. It's everything's just coming from a place of like that grounded, rooted fucking time to fucking grow up and fucking chop this motherfucking tree down, versus being like that desperate kid who's like freaking out, like how am I going to chop the tree down? Do we have a chainsaw? Do we have enough oil? Is the chain good enough? It's like shut the fuck
Yeah.
up, chop the fucking tree down.
So what do you think that switch was for you? I mean, like, because I know what you're talking about. I've been there. Wisdom and Grit was actually, it was a million different things from over a decade, dude. Seriously, I had M1. It was going to be Mighty One. Then I had Sons of Legacy. I had Fear Assassin. It was, I mean, it was a million different
Wow.
things. And like, I realized I just wasn't ready. Like there was this thing inside of me that I just knew. I kept pushing out there and trying, and I'd learned something new about myself. But I don't know if I didn't have the certainty or if I just wasn't there yet. And now it's like I'm exactly where I need to be. I know it
Mm,
with everything inside of me. And I'm
that's
kind of
it.
wondering, like, yeah, if it's just the trying and if it's believing in yourself, or if it's actually just acquiring the knowledge, or if it's just letting that seed fertilize a little bit. Like, what do you think was kind of the culmination for you?
I think it's like I think it's probably as simple as you just said, is that like you're just now ready. Like there might not be more thought involved in that, but like I think one thing that really fucking helped is like not looking at things as better than they are and not looking at things as worse than they are. Tony Robbins used to talk about this, and I
That's
never
good.
I understood it, but I never really got what it means fully, and I think I understand right now, because I think what that means is like we're trying to become this the version of ourselves that we know we're fucking meant to be. And so
Yeah.
we need to keep taking action on that journey towards that end. But as we do it, we run into negative feedback because we're trying to do these things and become this person, but we're not yet. So the world doesn't really want to give that to us and hook us up with it. So you can go one of two ways. You can either this is the problem. You go one of two ways, but you should go a third way. So the one of two ways everyone goes is they either go delusion, and they bring up this ego more, and they think that they come up with this delusion and fake that they're better than they are, and they create this
Yeah.
weird illusion around themselves, this delusion that they're better than they are. And the problem is that that will actually start to get you praise, and people, because people will follow that blind delusion. As long as you have confidence, people follow it. That's why, god damn it, psychology or Scientology exists. Like, why does any bad idea
Oh,
spread? It's like if it's said with confidence and other people buy into it, it's like we follow it. So it's like if you give yourself fake confidence and you build up this delusion, because you can't just man up and deal with the fact that you're not going to get great feedback on your journey, because it's going to be awkward and stuff. So to avoid all those feelings, you fucking create this delusion that you're better than you are. The problem is you're going to get rewarded for that by your market and
yeah.
whatever, by the world. And that's the worst thing that can ever happen to you, because you're almost sealing your fate, because you get praise for that, and then but you're not that person, and you don't have the skills, and so you're leading the people that are praising you down fucking some weird path. You're going down some weird path. You're getting praised for doing the wrong thing, and you don't know who the fuck you are. And you're just, it spirals, and you set yourself up for a big drop. But then people do the other way, where they're just like, they think it's worse than they are. So if they don't get some good feedback and they're trying to grow, they're just like, oh, I suck so much. Fuck this. They get depressed and shit. And then
Yeah.
that really stops them, and it stops them from taking action. They beat themselves up. So I think what Tony Robbins
Yeah.
really meant is like, you gotta just stay real and chip away, and just know that it'll happen eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm sitting there going like, well, damn, how do you ever know where to kind of pull the trigger? Because if you get out there and you're thinking, well, I don't want to look fake, and I don't want to, I hear that all the time, and I'm like, dude, go look fake. I don't care. Like, you got to learn this somehow. You got to have you got to go fail. I think as a man, it's important to go out there and just kick rocks over, kick down
Yep.
doors, and
Yeah.
figure stuff out. And sometimes that means you're going to look like a total douchebag. I
Yeah.
mean, it just is. Like, it's
That's
just the
right.
path of life. And if you want big things to happen, you got to be willing to look like that.
And the funny thing is like every time you think you're doing good, you look back to the year prior and you'd be like, oh God.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, I think we've done, I don't know how it is in like Thailand and stuff, but like here in the States or whatever, like a huge disservice. But like the way that we look at failure a lot of times, it's not right. Now, there's the Samurai Museum down here in Dallas. And I heard y'all were coming to Dallas. I was talking with Carla. She was texting, or not texting, but messaging me because about
Oh
doing
yeah.
some media stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. But first of all, I heard y'all were coming down, so make sure you come connect with me, man. But like, there's a samurai museum down here, and I went to it, and I was looking at the way that they kind of like Bushido, which is their kind of belief system, right? And they have this really super healthy view of death. And I was like, man, this view of death that they have is like that it's an honor, And I've been doing a lot of thinking about that because like the way that we view death, it's always like, oh, they were too young, or they just not. But I think when we don't respect things that are going to happen, like death, sexuality, things like that are part of who we are as people, we miss out on really understanding the true aspects of life, and we put so much stock in this bullshit, like things that will never matter, what I'm saying? But things that will always be with us, death, sexuality, and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, we avoid it at all costs. We avoid those conversations, and it's crazy. So I don't know where I was going with that, but I was just like, really, I was kind of
you brought up
dive
a
into
very
that,
good,
and
you brought up a very good point, which was like, or a thought, or you sparked a thought in me, which is like one of the biggest things that changed when I realized I was like when I realized I was ready, and then I hit the ground
yeah,
the right way and started getting momentum, was I was willing to die for it this time. I said, this is, I even wrote about this in the first chapter of one of my books. I said, this either happens now or I blow my head off. And I'm not, I'm not the type of person, I'm not suicidal. I would, I don't have
yeah,
any
I got you.
thoughts, but it
You're
was
all in, man.
the power. I was all in.
Yeah,
And that actually allowed me to now finally come from a place of strength, was that being willingness to die. So when you say the samurai and it's an honor to die, it's like that honor of death, you can create that in life. Like that's what gives you that warrior spirit almost, I feel, was that I'm willing to die. And so I'm willing to now do whatever it takes and go all in. So if you're willing to die, then you're willing to just like be that fucking warrior, that fearless warrior. And so I think
yeah.
that's interesting. That is what happened to me by me being willing to die for my own success, to do whatever it takes, is almost like what you just said about the samurai thing.
That's awesome. No, and what you just said about that, it makes me think back to when I started my marketing company, because I had piddled and done little things here and there beforehand, but it wasn't until I started that I was like, it's this or nothing else. Like I was
Right.
all in. I had no foot left in any other door, and it worked. I started that company with $500, bro, and built it into a
Wow.
multi-six figure, so it ended up
500 bucks.
being pretty cool. Yeah, no, I mean, and my back was against the wall. I didn't have any other choice. My wife had just had my son, and there was a lot of stuff going on. But
Yeah.
it's a story in and of itself. But I was like, I'm going to succeed, and anybody that stands in my way will fucking pay the price. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not dealing with that. So
Exactly.
I got a question here from one of the viewers here. He says, I struggle with very little confidence and talk myself out of success before I've ever even started. I'm really passionate about my cause, but for some reason there's a disconnect where excitement and passion and confidence intersect. Any advice?
Right. Yeah, I feel like it could, like it's tough to know. It could be something to do, like the way he described it sounds to me like he's been let down so many times before that he's afraid to hope again. He's afraid to try. He's afraid to really try. And so really
Yeah.
it's like the fear, it's like because he's looking too much at his past experiences, he's dipping his toe in the pool, and he looks very, he isn't doing what we just said, which is like going all in, like all fucking in. Like there is no turning back. I'll fucking slay anybody in my way. This is fucking happening, and this is it. And some days I won't feel like fucking doing it, and some days I won't. But I'm never gonna fucking stop doing this. And I also feel like a lot of maybe what he was saying is probably tied up into there's probably one or two people in his life that he cares too much what they think about, and he's really monitoring his own. Whenever he's thinking of doing content, whenever he's thinking about doing stuff, and he's kind of feels that immobilization, so to speak. It probably has a lot to do with there's someone's voice. They might not even be alive, man. It could be like a dead mom's voice in the head whining at him that he's not good enough, or it could be like there's certain people who are alive in his life where he's feels like for example, like I love Gary Vee, just as like just a random example, but if I had Gary Vee in my head every time I did a Facebook Live being like, you suck, bro, I'm 100,000 times better than you, it's like I would never get anything done. I would just crumble and I'd never do the Facebook Live because I look at the distance between Gary Vee and me as far as like his performance skills and his the way he just is a gangster about speaking. It's like I would never. So there's a comparison thing happening there, I believe, where he's comparing himself to someone or something, or there's someone in his family or a wife or son. He's not rooted in himself. He's looking to the outside world for the confidence and the validation and stuff like that. So I think a lot of his confidence issues will go away when he starts looking for his confidence inside of himself versus the world.
Totally, man. So he just replied, his name's Charlie, by the way. He's an awesome dude. I've met him in person, and like he's one of the best guys out there. He's a Marine. He's done a lot of really cool things. And he's got actually this nonprofit where he'll work with when one of the platoon members or somebody passes away, he'll go out and get all of their other the people that served with them and get them to do a video interview, and then he'll give that in a movie format to the family. So that's kind of his nonprofit. Wow. So, dude, they did it, and it's super powerful. Yeah, no, it's a cool deal.
If we're talking about entrepreneurial type stuff, this is something I was talking about because one of my Dark Horse clients, we held a mastermind in Colombia a couple months ago, and he is a former interrogator for the CIA. And he went to Iraq and stuff like that, and it's awesome. Super sick. But he started, I think he started in the Army and then CIA. But anyways, we were having this conversation, and it's very common that people who are in Marines, Navy, Army, and this is almost counterintuitive because it's like, it's intimidating. If I hear someone who's a Marine, I'm like, that's fucking intimidating. This motherfucker has discipline. He's strong as hell. He's strong mentally. He's like this fucking animal. And I'm like, this machine. And that's exactly what I think and what I hear. And it's true. At the same time, when it comes to entrepreneurial endeavors, Marines, Army, and Navy and stuff like that have been trained to be the opposite of an entrepreneur. They've been trained to get permission for every goddamn thing, and to not innovate, so to speak. And so, what happens if you're trying to start a business and you were in the Marines and stuff like that, then you're going to be always subtly looking for permission to do things, and so you're going to always feel like you're not getting enough traction because you're just trained to get this.
You're not getting the feedback. Permission. Yeah.
And you're almost not trained to think out of the box, and so it can be tough, but it can be easier knowing that might be the thing.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's really good, man. Like, I want to get into this is awesome. I want to get into like the actual like copywriting and stuff like that because like this is your powerhouse, right? I mean, that's what you're excellent at.
I'd say so. Like as far as when it comes to like making money, yeah, that's definitely the piece.
So what is the steps, man? Because I want to take a deep dive into that, and I don't know how much time you have or whatever, but we're like coming out that.
I got 12 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's dive into it, man. I'll let you go with it, dude.
So you're talking about copywriting and turning words into money
Yeah.
and shit.
Dude, how to influence people. Yeah. How to freaking
Okay.
get to the point where you're actually like going in and using copy to change people's perspective of things and the narratives that people live by.
Right. Okay. Well, so the whole Stephen Covey, seek first to understand, and then you'll be in order to be understood. It's like that.
Yeah.
That is almost a cornerstone of what it means to influence someone on a very basic level. So what happens is, like, if you want to influence somebody, you need to understand their problem and be able to regurgitate it to them and explain it to them, or demonstrate that them as well or not better than they can. So
Yeah.
in order to, that's the first step. So you got to ask yourself, what do I have to do in order to do so? In order to get to that point, and you obviously have to understand. You're like, how do I understand the more? It's like, well, to understand the specific market or audience that you have going for, you have to understand first in people in general first. So I'm just like,
Right.
I'm peeling the onion back, like, because when I first learned how to pick up chicks, when I was like, I couldn't get laid for the life of me, I was like, one of my mentors, he said, in order to get the one specific chick you want, the one you have a fucking crush on, he's like, you got to know how to be good with women in general. And that really hit me. He's like, oh, you got to understand in general. And it's the same. If you want to get that one specific sale, if you want to get that one industry or that one niche, you got to understand human beings in general. So I had to peel back and realize, okay, like, all this stuff in marketing and influence, it's like they have the customer avatar, which is you create like an image of your ideal customer and who they are and what fucking belt size they have, what country they're from, they have kids. It's like, what's their income, what podcasts listen to, and all that stuff. All of that stuff I realize is like, that's the niche specific stuff about the person. Okay, they watch Joe Rogan and they fucking blah 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 blah, and they usually have 2.5 kids and this and that. It's like all those things that you create for the avatar, all those things are like, that's going to create bonding and trust, and that's going to help them believe and connect to you and understand and this and that, and that's fine. But the piece that everyone seems to be missing is that's not what's going to get someone's money out of their pocket. What's going to get the money out of the pocket is it's universal reasons. It's all universal. It's all the things that are about human behaviors in general. So it's things like, wanting to make your parents proud, or I'm doing this because I got to be a good father for my kids, or I need to protect my family, or maybe I just want to seem smarter than the rest of the people in my friend group, or I want to make my neighbor jealous or some shit. Like, universal shit. So so when I peeled it back, I was like, okay, influence marketing, copywriting. What is it really? It's fucking understanding the customer's pain and where they're at exactly, so that you can parrot that back to them, so that they know that you know what you're talking about and got their back, and then they will trust as you lead them toward a solution, because you know their problem so well. Obviously, you know the solution. So most of the work's done, but in order to just knowing them isn't good enough, because you got to know the triggers that make them buy, which are universal in nature. And so you understand. You just go.
How do you dive into that?
Well, it's not even that difficult. Like Tony Robbins and shit. Like, Tony Robbins has a program called Power to Influence, and he talks about all the time, like, the reasons why we do things. And really, it comes down to status in the end.
Yeah.
Everything that we do is to get status, or to not lose status. A lot of people won't buy our shit because they're afraid of losing status. And what that could mean is that, okay, maybe you have like a $7 ebook. Someone could buy at 3 a.m. They could put that on their credit card. No one's going to fucking notice. And there's no loss in status. However, if the ebook is like, if the ebook is about like this certain diet that they have to do in order to lose their fucking love handles or their dad bod, now there's possibly a loss of status, not because, like, so for example, let's say the dad bod course was like $1,000. Well, now there's a significant risk of his status on the line, because if his wife, at $1,000, you usually have to tell somebody in your life about that purchase. Yeah. Like, there's someone you have to run it by, whether it's a business partner or a friend, or you don't just most people don't usually just do $1,000 for something.
Right.
And so you risk losing face/status if you buy it and you fail with it, in front of people or your wife, or it's like, oh shit, you bought this fucking thing and you didn't do it.
That's
Um,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and even spending money, like spending money is a loss of status because
That's it.
you know what I
Because
mean,
you would almost see it as the opposite to some
right?
degree, you know?
And
Yeah.
that's how people get ahead. They're like, I
Yeah.
see, I'm temporary loss of status in order to get a lot more later, you know.
Right.
But it's technically a loss of status, and so and I realize people do things for status, but the thing is, the things we do for status, like they're all different. It's like it's all the
Yeah.
same but different. Like we do things for prestige, like every one of us. We do things for prestige, and we do things for community, and
Hmm.
like we need to feel like we're part of something. And so that's the same reason people join a fucking cult. They join Scientology. They join it for prestige, and they join it for community and to be part of something bigger than them. And however, the ways in which we get there are different, and that's what you just research with other things. So when I realized it was all about status, I was like, oh shit. So when we're talking about influence, and I realized if I'm going to be an influencer, I had to really get down to the meat of it and say, what really is it? It's like not these. It's not the 6-step formulas. It's not any of that shit. It's like, what the fuck is it? And I realized that like through my studying of branding, which is kind of funny because there's 8 trillion branding experts in the world right now, but
Right.
I was studying branding in actual research journals in universities and going like deep, and I found out some crazy shit. And I found out the core of what it means to be an influencer or to influence or to have to create. So really, what we're doing is we want to create ways for people to have status. So you know, if you're no matter what you're selling, you're creating ways for people to have status or to have status in the future, or gives a little bit of status now and have a lot of status later. It's all about status
Yeah.
because it's all about survival and moving up the food chain. And this is like biological. It doesn't matter what we think about this on the surface. And so
Huh.
I realized that, okay, the branding, the official definition of branding, which no one in this industry seems to fucking say, which blows my mind because there is an official definition. It's the matching. It's the matching of the brand's image, of the brand image, and the self image of the user self image. That's what it is.
Wow.
It's the matching. And
Wow,
so
dude. That's deep.
yeah, and it's crazy because like, okay, so it's the matching of the brand image and the self image, the user self image. Now there's different aspects to each piece, but I won't get into because we only got 5 minutes left. But I can totally
Yeah.
wrap this up and blow everyone's minds here in 5 minutes.
Awesome.
So the brand's image is made up of okay, so here's what's crazy. All right, the self image of the user is when we talk about self image, we have 2 self images. We have our real self. It's who we know we are deep down. It's our current self. It's the self we're kind of trying to move away from. It's who we know we are at 2 a.m. when we're laying in bed. There's our true current self, and then there's our ideal self. Our ideal self is who we aspire to be, who we wish we could be, and our ideal self. And
Yeah.
so here's what's interesting is if branding, and I'll make a case at the end here that marketing is branding. So if branding is the matching of the brand image and the user self image, then it stands to reason that the user self image would be the ideal self image.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is like, as a brand, when you're marketing, if you're an influencer, if you're trying to influence people, what you want to do is you want to market your message to you want to be talking to their ideal self, not their real self. And that is a mistake that almost everybody makes. Because if you're Hermes or Gucci or something, you don't be talking. Because your brand image is a representation, a symbolic representation of their ideal self, not their fucking real self. Being like, hey, like this is where everyone gets it wrong. It's like everything that you represent, and it's all symbols. And so everything that the symbols in your room, in your beard, and everything that you are, the music, the colors, all of that is a symbolic representation of who they wish and aspire to be. And what that means is then if we're talking about ideal self-image, then really what that is that's a customer avatar. And so so what that does is that brings a whole new light to the idea of customer avatar and market research and marketing. That
Yeah.
just means that the customer avatar needs to be an avatar of their ideal self. And then your brand image or whatever that has to match that. Since it's a match, it literally you don't create two, it's the same thing. So whatever self image, the ideal self image of your customer that you create, that is your brand image, because they should be one and the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
And
Dude,
so
that's really impactful, man.
that little distinction will really help people understand. It's like your market has an idealized self-image of who they wish to be, and all you have to do is embody that and represent that in any way that you can, and then they will be attracted to it. Because what happens is people talk, all these brands try to talk to the person's real self, not their ideal self. The problem with talking to their real self is they're trying to move away from their real self and get to their ideal self. So if you're talking to their
Yeah.
real self, then really your messaging as a brand is their old real self that they don't want to be. So they're going to naturally be repelled from your brand. And you think you're just trying to connect and be super authentic, bro. But what you're really doing is you're repelling them away, because you're talking about and you're talking to them like you're like that friend that they don't want to have because they're trying to move away from that.
Dude, I just saw you come alive more in the last 10 minutes. Like, that was amazing, bro. I mean, that was good, man. I can tell you love and are passionate about what you do, and that was really insightful, because I do a lot of brand strategies, not in the branding format more than it is like in straight up marketing, but I realized like I hadn't really been as focused on the ideal self perspective as I probably should be. So that was super helpful, man.
Me too,
Yeah.
man. When I stumbled across it, I was like, "Oh shit!" I'm like, no one talks about it, and it's missing. It's like it's a big key.
Yeah, you kind of you just answered one of the questions I had kind of tucked in there, because I really was like, what's the big thing that everybody's missing, that inside of this whole game? Because everybody and their dog seems to be some kind of a marketing expert, it seems like. And, it's like, dude, what's the thing that everybody's missing, because
be who they wish, be who they're trying to be.
Yeah.
And they'll
that's
follow
good,
you, they'll follow you to get there.
That's so good, bro. All right. So I have one last question for you, then you can jump. But like, what does it mean to be a man to you?
I was like, I'm thinking of all the things
man, I know.
Yeah, I was thinking of all the things that, like, because when I'm thinking of the opposite, and it makes me fucking mad. So what it means to be a man to me is ultimate personal responsibility, like Jocko Williams style, like ultimate personal responsibility for your environment and everything around you. And like my job, like that's why my name is Father Freedom. My job is to fucking protect, like as a father. There's like Father, Son, Holy Spirit. There's like a God thing, but there's also a father thing of my market, protecting my market. It's like a personal responsibility and a protection, and it means always trying to do the right thing for your tribe. Maybe not even the fucking world. I don't even know that far, but definitely for your tribe or your family, so to speak. And also be willing to die for it, and be willing to do that. But doing the right things, even and especially when the people in the tribe, it's like, clean your fucking room, right? It's like, I don't wanna. It's like, I don't care if you don't wanna. It's like, you may not like me for fucking 4 hours, but you're gonna clean your fucking room. And so for me, just being a man means being a leader.
That's powerful, bro. Yeah. That's good stuff, man. I am so excited that we had the chance to sit down, and now I'm in love with you, like your stuff, man, already. So I read your post, and I'm like, dude, you're a powerful thinker, man. I love it.
Thank you, appreciate it. It's really good to connect. I can tell that you have something really special going on here. I'm happy to come on again, and we can just dive right into some other shit. We can like save the stories and go straight into some other hardcore.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing, bro. I'd love that. So let everybody know where they can find you, what you got going on, because I know you got a lot of courses, stuff like that, and or you got an event coming up that might be already sold out. I don't know, but tell them what's up.
Yeah, the event's sold. It's basically sold out. Like, I'm not promoting it anymore. We have 75 people are coming to our house in Thailand next week, I think. Yeah, on the February 8th. So I mean, obviously we could still fit a few more people in. If someone wanted to get on a plane and just randomly take an adventure to Thailand, they could just message me or something. I'll show them the link. But
That's cool.
we do a bunch of events every year. And then our courses we give all away for free now. I don't sell a single course. We have
Oh
coaching
wow.
programs, but every single course I have, I give away for free, and I'll continue to give away for free. And so, yeah, like you can go to opposedmedia.com, which is our website, obviously, and that we have a ton of free training and videos there, like 5, 6, 7, 8 hour seminars and stuff just slapped on there. When those videos that are embedded on the site are also their YouTube embeds, so you can like click and go to YouTube and you see our channel. I got like 200 videos, all sorts of shit like that. We also just I don't know. I think my name will be in this thing somewhere. We can choose my
Oh yeah.
personal profile. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's where I share. That's like my diary, so to speak, or my daily blog is the Facebook, and that's where I do all the selling, other than live events. But that's where I do all my selling of all my stuff, and really that's just where my daily diary is at.
Yeah, men, follow him. I mean, like, get in and check him out. I mean, like, he's funny, he's insightful, he's brilliant. I mean, and all the things. I mean, sometimes I'll find myself laughing, and I don't even laugh a ton at other people's posts, but like, you got some funny stuff, bro. And then, but also, it can be super deep, and I mean, you just got a good angle. I don't know. There's just something going on that's just different. And so I really wanted to bring you on because of that, because I really want to bring on some of the most impactful kind of men, the guys that I love your story. I love all that stuff. So you got a lot of good things going, dude. Anything I can do to help you, you just mentioned it. Men, thank y'all for being a part of this and staying through the whole thing. I really appreciate it. I know like that the whole thing was amazing. And the wisdom that was dropped. So I look forward to getting you back on at some point, Mitch. Really, that would be amazing. And hopefully we'll meet in person here soon. Call me when you come to Dallas for sure.
I'm down. I'll be in Dallas twice this year, so I'll be there in June and in November. So
perfect. Hook me up, man. Let's do it. And Paul, I know he's down here too. Paul Holme.
That's right. Have you met him?
So I haven't met him in person, but I got a lot of buddies that work out over there at his gym. So
okay, you got to link up. Maybe I should officially introduce you two together.
Yeah, that'd be great, dude. That'd be awesome, man. Brother, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you too, man. Let's keep in touch. We'll do it again. This is not the last. The Wisdom and Grit is like one of the greatest names I've ever heard for a group. So
thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man. Well, now you're officially a part of it, dude. So all right. Well, have a great day, man. Get it done.
Yeah, you too, man. Take care.
See you, bro.